everyone, welcome to our channel. This is a Posh at Work presentation of legal insights on important issues surrounding sexual harassment and related matters. Posh at Work is a boutique firm which assists organizations across sectors in complying with the law against sexual harassment at workplace and related matters pan-India. My name is Sania Talwar. The judgment I will be discussing with you today is in continuation with our previous video, which is Jaya Kotadi versus Rashtrasant Tukhtoji Maharaj Nagpur University by the High Court of Bombay Nagpur bench, decided on 13 June 2014. As recap, this judgment clarifies interpretation of several basic and very important provisions under the law that form the basis of understanding applicability of this law. As we discussed last time, this judgment throws light on the following questions. Number 1, whether the law deals with sexual harassment of employed women only. Number 2, who is an employee under law and who is an employer. Number 3, in case respondent is an employer but also has ingredients of employee, whether the local committee will inquire into such complaints or the internal committee of a workplace would do so. Number 4, what is a workplace and how are internal committees required to be constituted? Number 5, what should the composition of internal committees look like? What is the role of members and the independent external members? Number 6, how do internal committees work and how are reports required to be prepared? So that we are able to understand the judgment of this court on each point in its entirety, we divided this discussion in 3 parts. We discussed the judgment of the court on the first 3 questions in part 1. In part 2, we discussed question number 4, and in this part 3, I will cover questions number 5 and 6. We have further divided question number 5 and 6 for convenience, as on these parts, several points came up for the consideration before the court. A. Composition of committee members as per section 4 of the law. B. Role of external members appointed in the committee as per section 4 of the law. C. Removal of members as per the same section 4. D. Preparation of inquiry report by the committee. Regarding composition of committee members as per section 4 of the law, section 4(2)(b) states that 2 members who are appointed on the committee from amongst the employees should be preferably committed to the cause of women or should have experience in social work or have legal knowledge. In the present case, the court noted that respondents were not able to point out that Professor Brahmkar and Mr. Ghatole, who were committee members, were selected to be on the committee based on this provision and that they have been committed to the cause of women or have experience in social work or have legal knowledge. Respondents also did not argue that none of the employees working in the institution fulfilled the above mentioned requirements and therefore they had no option but to nominate these persons to the committee. The court therefore noted that section 4(2)(b) does not require nomination of 2 members amongst the employees simpliciter, but the selection of the 2 members from amongst employees is qualified with a requirement that they should preferably be committed for the cause of women or have experience or have legal knowledge. It held that because of the above, constitution of internal committee itself is illegal and contrary to the provisions of law. With respect to the role of an external member, this judgment noted several points. Factually, it noted late arrival of NGO representative Srimati Pankule on more than half of the dates on which internal committee sittings were held shows that on the said date the presiding officer, Professor Madhugiri, was in minority. Secondly, questions on the defense of the respondents were put to petitioners on 9th and 10th January 2014. On 9 January, Srimati Pankule was late by 3.5 hours, and on 10 January, she was absent. C. The report of majority was authored by NGO member Srimati Pankule, who kept herself away from the proceedings of the committee on many important occasions. Her report showed her singular effort and did not mention any deliberations with Dr. Ghatole or Dr. Brahmakar, who were the other members of the committee. Court noted that legislative object of providing an NGO member is to keep an independent and impartial person on internal committee in position to command respect and compliance from influential management. It said that such member must be really concerned with all committee proceedings, and being third party must make all out efforts to see that any respondent does not succeed in avoiding the inquiry into their conduct. Such NGO members must make efforts to coordinate working of various members of the committee and must see that provisions of law are respected and implemented. Such NGO representative has to strive to ensure that healthy and comfortable atmosphere prevails or is restored at the concerned workplace. Here, the committee fails to inspire confidence as also trust in the mind of a grieved woman about sanctity of its own proceedings and tends to defeat the spirit of the law. Regarding removal of committee members, Section 4(5) of the law disqualifies a presiding officer or member of such committee if they are convicted for any offence or against whom an inquiry for commission or any offence under any law is pending, and therefore they are liable to be removed from the committee. One lady employee filed a complaint under Section 506 of the Indian Penal Code against Dr. Ghatole, who was one of the members of the internal committee. This complaint was rejected at the threshold, and grievance of that lady employee was that then being looked into by the Sessions Court. The petitioners argued that as per Section 4(5) of the law, such a member cannot continue to be a part of the internal committee. Therefore, the question that arose for consideration before the court was whether Dr. Ghatole could continue to be part of the internal committee or not. The court observed that Dr. Ghatole was not convicted, and as revision was still pending, it cannot mean that an inquiry into an offence or investigation against him was pending. If such revision is allowed, an inquiry into some offence or investigation against him may start. Court noted that in such sensitive matters, when 3 lady employees pose themselves as aggrieved women, why could the management not nominate a person with clean slate? Hence, based on this, it seems adequate to say that the ideal situation would be for management to nominate a person with clean slate, that is, clean records to avoid any challenges. The last issue that came up for consideration before the court was that internal committee conducted inquiry and 2 separate reports were placed before court. One report was submitted by the presiding officer, Professor Madhugiri, and the other report, prepared by NGO representative Srimati Pankule, was also signed by Dr. Ghatole and Dr. Brahmakar. Petitioners argue that 2 reports cannot be submitted as per law and refer to Section 13 for which states that on completion of an inquiry, the internal committee shall provide a report of its findings to the employer. The court observed that when law envisages submissions of its findings by the inquiry committee, an individualistic appreciation has not been found sufficient to meet the legal requirements. Referring to some Supreme Court judgments, the court said that Honorable Apex Court has found a combined report by all members of the inquiry committee a must. It also said that every member has a right either to agree or to disagree with the majority. Disagreement is possible when a single or combined report is attempted. It said that this also holds good as far as Section 13 of the law is concerned. It expressly uses the word like a report of its findings, such report, or arrives at the conclusion, implying a singular number and therefore a combined singular report. Court said that Section 13 speaks of an internal committee as one entity. When there are total 4 members on the committee, a report or decision by the majority is not ruled out. But when the internal committee is a single committee and there is provision for quorum, it is expected to function as a single body. It further stated that it leaves no manner of doubt that in such a serious matter of public importance, the Parliament expected a collective application of mind and a combined report. When such fact-finding body is comprised of more than one member, it is inherent that all hear the controversy together and are benefited by the experience and expertise of each other by sharing and exchanging their views. If everybody sits as an individual without any dialogue with the other members and then they submit their findings also without deliberations or consultations with the others, the very purpose of providing a multi-membered body gets frustrated. Such separate report then becomes a separate report of several individuals submitting it and may suffer from individuals' prejudices or drawbacks. A joint inquiry committee is prescribed to eliminate such elements specific to every individual and to bestow advantage of the expertise of every individual in their field. Persons from different walks of life with varied knowledge and experience as also different approaches come together to form one committee. Such an artificial body acquires its personality only when several members forming it sit together, share their viewpoints, and gain advantage of the perspective of the other members. The court went on to further note that in a given case, one of the members may not agree with the view of the majority, but then they will be electing to disagree after having advantage of the wisdom of others. Their disagreement therefore evidences itself or surfaces in joint deliberations, and others also get an opportunity to weigh their viewpoint. Other members get a chance to know the view of minority and to decide to disagree with it by majority. Thus, reasons for agreement or disagreement are not pre-decided and evolve out of process of joint discussion. When an individual on such multi-membered committee avoids to speak with others, they rob the artificial person of one facet of its character desired by the Parliament, and such committee is therefore never legally complete or born. Court said that there was nothing to reveal that these two members had given any thought to the controversy. Merely because they placed their signatures at the end of the personal report of Srimati Bankule, it cannot be said that Dr. Ghatule or Dr. Bramkar had applied their mind. Thus, reports signed and submitted by majority members of such a committee without undertaking the exercise of joint deliberations is void and unacceptable. Both the reports were therefore discarded by the court. The court finally also observed A. Dubious nature of role played by two committee members, Dr. Ghatule and Dr. Bramkar. B. Procedure adopted by the committee. C. Not compelling the president, secretary or principal to enter the witness box. D. Committee members themselves putting defense of respondents to aggrieved woman. These are all grave errors sufficient to give rise to reasonable apprehension in the mind of any aggrieved woman and to cast doubt on the independence of the committee. The employer has to be genuinely concerned with the safety of women at workplace under them and cannot stage a farce compliance with the obligation cast by the law. Here the efforts made by the respondents show lack of sincerity and earnest desire to really scrutinize the alleged grievances of petitioners. If you found this information helpful, please like our video and subscribe to our channel for regular updates. In case you have any queries about the law or our services or want any assistance, please visit our official website www.poshatwork.com or contact us. All links and other details are provided in the description box below.